Yeah, half measures. It's actually on page 59. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. No, that's not right.
It's not there. It's somewhere.
Some of us, yeah, it's
It's
on page 58. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas. So I'll read that. On the bottom
Yeah.
of page 58 of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, at some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. There you go.
There you go. Now you could take that. Well, hello, everybody. You could take that as a moment-to-moment thing. Yes? What comes up in one's head but old ideas? If you meet somebody, they're compared to other bodies. Yeah? Old ideas. I'll give you an example, tell you the truth. I had a very nice example of it last night. So I'm having trouble with the body, and I've had a lot of trouble over time with the body, accidents and stuff like that. And so of course, when you have some extreme pain, it takes you down memory lane in a sense. Yeah. So, and you meet a lot of old ideas about how long memory lane's going to be, how it's never going to end, all these things. Yes, these are old ideas. Okay, and that no one understands how bad it is, and I can't rely on anybody. Okay, so this was presented last night, and of course I look at the significant other that's here in my life, and she has failed me. These are old ideas. So what's one to do? In the AA way, when those old ideas appear, we bring on the step 6 and 7. Yes? Because those old ideas have a formation. They take a formation, almost like when you see something crystallize. Yeah? They yeah? And they get like a crystal. When people get something, they get a crystal or something in their, I don't know, gallbladder or something, and they get one of those things, and it's incredibly painful because they can't pass it out. The body can't pass it out because it's taken a form, yeah, that the body's not able to do what it does with most toxins and shit. Yes? So these, I would say, are old ideas. So you're there in a situation that reminds you of other situations. And what accompanies the other situations are thoughts, yes? Now, I don't like the idea of our old ideas. I just think they're old ideas. I'd love to see a disclaiming of ownership of these are my old ideas. I think they're just old ideas that imply a my, really. Seriously. So I had a beautiful example, and that old idea comes with some fury, yes? That no one's going to take care of me, yes? And I'm here, I'm the lonely warrior, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it can become a heroic little journey or whatever. So I saw this all crystallize, and because we're awake, yeah? You can see shit. So I saw it, and it had some oomph, it did, because of the oldness of it, yeah? Because the oldness of it means it's moved in a similar manner, and it's almost like a mental groove, like in Hinduism. Sorry if I go too esoteric, but in Hinduism, they call deep mental grooves samskaras, yeah? So a lot of us have deep mental grooves of old ideas. Yeah. And so this is the shit that comes up when you're sober for a while, because it usually doesn't arise unless there's a safety or a security in the air. Yeah. If you're in constant drama and chaos every day, they won't surface. Yeah. Yet they're very influential. And this is one of the reasons why the head loves chaos and fucking drama, is because it doesn't want this stuff to come up in a way, because it can't manage it in a sense. Yeah. Yet it's of it. It's funny. So now you're sober for a while and you get to see it. What do you do when you see it in the AA way? You bring it to 6 and 7. Yeah. So entirely ready is sort of like letting go. Yeah. So it implies there's a holding on. So these old ideas really hold on to us like a barnacle would to a hull. Yeah. The barnacle's holding on, and we can make a decision about it, but we can't really let it go because it's holding on. We have to be worked on, which is the working steps, and two of them are 6 and 7. And so you bring these old ideas to the higher power, and you ask those old ideas to be reconfigured, because obviously all of them carry a breath of life, an energy. Yeah. And that energy could be producing effects now, and some of those effects could be an ease and comfort in a painful situation, instead of a mental suffering about the painful situation. That's how deep a contrast it can be. So let's really, if we're here talking about recovery and the exact nature of the wrong, and there's two big statements. There's that self-knowledge avails us nothing, and the results will be nil unless we let go of these old ideas. Now they're talking about the ones that are keeping us from entering the door of recovery, but they show up and they try to uniform or tailor your recovery, these old ideas. Yeah. And I really see them as deep mental grooves. Yeah. And so what do you do? Is this a self-reliance program where I'm going to work on this and shit like that? Or is it a reliance on a higher program? Isn't the first response sort of a surrender and then a giving over instead of wrestling it and trying to pin it down? I think this is the theme of a life of recovery. It's really rooted in a certain admittance of defeat and a surrender. Yeah. And so let's surrender these old ideas when we have a situation in life, because a lot of them won't come up until a certain situation is. So you may hate the situation, but there's a huge amount of value in it, because it's going to bring a lot of shit out of the weeds that affects you all day. Yeah, because it defines your limitations. Yeah, these old ideas. It's like a fence on a huge piece of property. So you live on a huge piece of property, but you live as if it's a very small piece of property, because there's a mental fence that's cut you off, seemingly, it appears to, of all that, free ranging that could occur. So here you go. So these things that we're super afraid of having occur bring value, because a lot of shit comes up. Yeah. And it's perfect because there's 6 and 7. What did you used to do when the shit come up? Drink. Try to avoid it. Deny it. Just fuck it. Just distract yourself. But here, we can be as clear as possible all the way, because we just put it in the garbage and put it out. Let the higher power take care of it. And I have found, in truth, that things have been rearranged quite a lot without much heavy lifting on my part. Really. Just an awareness and a bringing, instead of holding on to the old idea, which is another old idea, there's a letting go of the old idea. Yeah. Which is, what does that letting go look at? A giving over to the higher power. Yes. The idea of letting go of the old idea is another old idea. It never really worked, did it? but because you don't have the power, but you can turn it over to something greater, and it does have power. And I don't believe there's an it and it's different, but we're talking in AA world. So, yeah. So that's what I like to talk about today, because it's a pretty incredible statement. Result will be nil is an extreme statement. Yes. It means nada. Yeah, zero, exactly. So, I mean, I guess they were trying to make a point because it's an important one. But yeah, what about these? When do we get to see these old ideas? Yeah, usually when things that have happened to us repeat, which that's what life does. Yeah. Some people get injured, and they don't get injured once, they get injured a number of times. Some people get married, they don't get married once, they get married 5 times or 4 times. So we keep doing shit to bring this shit up. I could, in a way, yeah, so that things can be reconfigured. Yeah, so maybe there won't be a 6th marriage, or if there is, it will go better. Yeah. For both parties. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw out that. It came up earlier, so I figured I'd put it as the topic, yes? Because I had a very nice demonstration of it concerning mortality, really, physical mortality and discomfort, and the old ideas that arise when that situation arises, yeah? And the laboratory is our life, yeah? This is where the experiments are performed. It's not like a sterile antiseptic thing, yes? That's why I like to catch the stuff coming out of the oven, because the life force is strong then, and have it reclaimed or reconfigured, yeah? So 6 and 7, let's emphasize step 6 and 7, today.
Could someone tell me what step 6 and 7 are?
Well, you can read it. Where is it in the book?
That's on page 59. Step 6 is we're entirely ready. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it says page 59 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 6 is we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And then 7 is humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings.
Yes. So this is in a formal way, or let's say in the way, a recovery ceremony. You do that after you've finished step 5 with somebody, yes? But it doesn't mean that's the end of the working of 6 and 7. I'd say they're the most active steps, because now you have the eyes to see what has defeated you. So when you see it, not after the car crash, but before the car crash, you bring it over, and then you'll judge the tree by the results. Yeah. I don't know. People have a belief, which I think is an old idea. There's going to be a whole lot of work and in a lot of ways, I don't see it that way at all. I think it's pretty damn easy. I do not sit up all night looking out the window because I don't have faith the garbage man's coming today. I just put the garbage out, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. And then in the morning, it's not the first thing I'm looking for, but I notice the cans are all empty and shit like that. So, yes. So there's proof in the observation. How are you going to get that proof unless you participate in it? And I don't like the idea of remove, because I don't believe you can remove energy. I think everything is a pattern of energy. It appears as a thing, but it's really a vibrational pattern, I feel. And so you can reconfigure that, though, or something can. So something could be, a powerful burst of music can be melodic or can be fucking screechy. Yeah. It's the same burst of music, but if something directs it or plays it, it can sound completely different. than if something else is playing it. Yeah. So you have to see that the mental state thinks it's still directing the orchestra. Yeah. But when the record comes out, it's all higher power. I didn't mean that. Yeah. So that, I think, let's give a big cheer out for 6 and 7. And that can happen at a meeting, at an AA meeting. Yeah. Instead of hearing your head talk about other people, you can see that as some, a pattern that could be reconfigured. So you bring it up. I don't think a meeting is the steps end when a meeting begins. Yeah, you can use 6 and 7 there, because that's where you get reminded of alcoholism a lot. Yeah. So why not use it when you're being reminded of something that you're not, so you can bring it over to the power. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the more you do it, the less there'll be need to do it. Just like almost everything else in AA. Yeah. You do a lot of inventory in the beginning, so you don't have to do much as you go on. Yeah. It's just you know what I mean? All the effort, really, going to any lengths has maybe some more inches in it in the beginning than at the end, as it goes on. Basically, you're not asked to go to any lengths, really. Because there's a willingness to go to any lengths. It doesn't need to be a demonstration, really. Yeah? Yeah. So, yeah. 6 and 7. It's given the least amount of activity in the book, but it's probably the most active steps in ongoing recovery. How are old ideas gonna change? It's an old idea that you can do that. You can't change the old ideas. That's a fucking super old idea. Yeah. So you bring it to 6 and 7. That's the spirit of AA. Reliance on a higher power. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. You say bring it to 6 and 7. It really sounds like there is a doing and there's something to offer up. And
Well, yeah, that's the language.
It's nothing. It's very hard to hold what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like an active step, but yet there's no activity with it. It's very hard for me to understand if there's direction or if there's something to do with that.
Well, there is direction, really, because if you notice it, usually it's brought to the head, which circulates the old idea. So we're using it. There's a bringing going on. Doesn't mean there's anyone bringing it, but there's a bringing it going on. So, maybe entertain the other possibility of it being brought to the head, 6 and 7, because all that activity is reliance on self. The bringing to everything that comes up in our heads to the head is reliance on self, which is most of our condition. Yeah. So let's bring it to something else. Yeah. So what happens when a situation arises and then there's thoughts about it? Usually the situation is given over to the one that had the thoughts. So there's more thoughts about it. And then the old ideas have a huge effect because we're powering them. Our energy is being diverted into the mental activity instead of to the higher power. Yeah. Where the results would be completely different if it was brought or directed by the higher power than it is by the mental state. Yeah. So the old habit is something occurs, the head comes in as the great counselor. Yeah. No one's going to be dependable. No one, da. And these are like big roots of reliance on self. This is the whole point of the program, is a moving away from that and moving towards trusting the infinite. So how can you demonstrate trusting the infinite? Giving those old thoughts to the infinite would be trusting the infinite instead of letting the head take the old thoughts and compound them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is action. We're not saying, I don't believe there has to be a someone to have an action. I think there's actions without a someone. Yeah. So there's bringing. Yes. So you see it, and instead of like letting all the thoughts collapse on themselves and then act out, based on false evidence, you bring it before it coagulates and let it get reconfigured by the higher power. Yeah. I had it right last night. Something was cooking in the oven. It wasn't going to be a good meal for myself or Amelia. Yeah. And it was old. I've seen that. It was like putting it in like one of those mixers, and all the old ideas were the same ingredient. I was going to get the same cake. And it's amazing when that pattern is broken, you feel a surge of power going another way. You do. You feel like it says you'll feel that new power flow in. You feel it when step 6 and 7 occurs, because it was going to have a little bit of an explosion and maybe wreck some shit. It's now was used to build something else up. Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy I saw it last night. I hadn't been brought to one of those performances for a while, but I haven't felt as physically screwed as I have been. So having a long history of that, there's a lot of old ideas. Yes. Yeah. What is it? Out with the old and in with the new. Yeah. Yeah. It's recognition, Kaiser. So let's say you're in a situation and it reminds you of past situations. And then the same thoughts you would have in those past situations come up to sort of define the situation. That's an old idea. That's an old pattern. Yeah. So recognizing it, not after it's done its effect, but in its formation, and you're in the habit of bringing that stuff to 6 and 7. Yeah. So there's no, it doesn't drag out in time and produce a lot of uncomfortable effects in you and others. Yeah. In other words, the explosion, the bomb squad came and took it away. Yeah.
So it's almost like, do I really know what's going on? I seem to know what it's really going on. I seem that they're coming like this, but perhaps I don't. And then you bring that to 6 and 7.
Of course you don't. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's losing trust in self. This idea that you know what's going on is bogus in most cases. Yeah. So you trust the infinite.
Yep.
The infinite gives you eyes to see something, and what you see, before it forms, you let the higher power form it. Yeah. It's almost like alchemy in a sense, as it was described in the past. You ever hear of alchemy when they were trying to make gold?
Yeah, make gold out of lead. Yeah, that's what that is.
The old alchemists. Well, in a way, it's sort of like that. Yeah, we're not performing the alchemy. We're what the alchemy is performed on. We're the lead, so to speak. Yeah, going to be turned into gold.
Bill Churchman's got his hand up. If we want to shift over, Bill, do you want to continue to jump in here?
Hey, thanks, Kaiser. Hey, Paul. Hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't really have so much a question as just to say, man, I really appreciate this topic. During my whole recovery, I still say it, and even in whatever other spiritual stuff I've done and all, I've always felt like what this topic of old ideas is kind of like the underpinning of the whole problem, or what, I don't know if problem's the right word, but such an important thing. And I've always said, I feel like, in so many meetings, that chapter at the beginning of how it works there gets read, that contains that statement. And it kind of just gets read over, and I never hear it really talked about much in recovery groups much, unless I bring it up. But my sponsor, when I first met him way back, when we would just have conversations, about whatever, just talking. Every time I'd say something, he'd say, "That's an old idea," and I'd say something else about it. He'd say, "That's an old idea." And I'm like, what is he talking about? Back then, but like now, yeah, what you were saying about stuff coming up, old ideas coming up that are getting ready to ruin the day or whatever. That's my paraphrase or whatever. But after some years of being in recovery, I found A Course in Miracles, as I probably said before, and started doing that, and something in there, and it just put more meat on the bone about that idea, the concept or whatever of old ideas. The result being nil till we let go of them. Absolutely, it says that means 100%, and the result, if you don't do absolutely, it'll be nil. That means zero, right? There's no like middle ground in there, according to that. And but in the course, I was doing the lessons, and then like in lesson 7, there's one that it says, I see only the past, and it kind of expounds on that, and like walk around and everything you look at during the day, say, I see only the past in that tree, or I see only the past in that pencil, whatever. And man, it was like something so powerful. It was like the first, I don't know the first, but it was such a powerful, I saw it, what it was talking about, like, man, I wasn't seeing anything. All I was really perceiving or seeing was my idea of things. I wasn't seeing the thing, but I was seeing my idea of things, and it's like it said, projection makes perception. Everything I was seeing was just a projection of an idea I had about that or whatever. I never experienced anything except my ideas of everything,
Hey, yeah. Bill, I'm gonna try to direct you. Did you have a question that or something that you wanted to clarify with Paul about that?
That was very good, though.
No, yeah. I was just kind of sharing a little bit there.
That was very good. Yes.
About it, and just to thank Paul for that. Thanks.
That was very good, Bill. Yeah, because obviously the oldest old idea is the idea of being Paul. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that basically, and Paul is really a compilation of pieces and past. Yeah, there isn't a Paul. It's not solid fabric. It's like a patchwork, really. And the patchwork, or the threads that hold it, are these old ideas. These old ideas hold the image of a long-lasting, independent, separate thing called Paul. Yeah, that's the oldest idea, I feel.
Right.
When that oldest idea gets shook up a little bit, you can actually see its foundation, which isn't Paul. There isn't one, but these old ideas that come up around things that happen in our lives. Yeah, all of us. We all have, let's say, certain things that, or patterns that would reappear. Yeah, there would be different people, but in the same equation, and there would be the same fucking results. Yeah, these deep mental grooves, and I feel AA addresses them with steps 6 and 7. And in the spirit of AA, which is we can't do it, but something else can. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I don't feel, I think that's the theme of recovery all the way through, is that I don't feel like there's a point where we get given the reins of the horse, so to speak. Yeah. It works, and it keeps working. Yeah. So, and it allows you to see the old ideas not from the oldest of them. Yeah. So you can see the old ideas not from the oldest idea, Paul, but from spirit, let's call it awareness. Yeah. And there's a letting go of them, because there's no umbilical cord from them to Paul anymore. That's been cut. Yeah. You've recognized the exact nature of the wrong, and that is, it's not you. Yeah. So that umbilical cord that had the oldest idea getting given life by the old ideas that keep reoccurring, that thing was cut in the operation of recovery. Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
And so now you can see the old ideas, because you can't see the oldest idea. It's made up completely. There's no one there. You can look at a mirror 800,000 times and see a body, but if you've seen a dead body you thought was somebody, you probably had a hit. That wasn't the somebody. The body wasn't the true representation of the person. Yeah, because I've seen it happen more than once looking at dead bodies. It was obvious that wasn't who I was calling Uncle Fred. Yeah, so yeah, so here we have a freedom now to see the old ideas. Yeah, because we're not looking from the oldest idea, hopefully. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So we're seeing the old ideas, and now what do? We bring them to step 6 and 7. That's the AA way. Yeah. I mean, people want to talk about being in AA, but that's being in AA. Yeah. Is step 6 and 7. That's another aspect of it. It's not like you do this and you do that. Yeah. And yet there's no movement in step 6 or 7. I think step 6 and 7 is incredibly active, because you're constantly, more is being constantly revealed. Yeah. To spirit. Yeah. Because now we're awake. The spirit is awake. And I hope it's taking precedence over Paul. Yeah. And so you can see all these old ideas, and you can see the oldest idea is made up of these, is being supported by these old ideas. You want to take the rug out of an imaginary person, take the rug out of the old ideas, because that's the projection of the imaginary person. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and here, we're hopefully at times in this platform, we talk about new ideas. Yeah, we do. New ideas of recovery, not changing anything, but new ideas of the importance of certain aspects that may be not as seen as that important at other meetings. Yeah. Not saying one's better or worse, but this place is big enough for new ideas. Yeah. So here you go. So you, Bill, and I, and everyone here, we're circulating in some new ideas about 6 and 7, the exact nature of the wrong, yada, 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 yada. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really feel to look at Paul directly, you're missing it, because Paul is just is what you would call all these fabrics that make up a sweater. Yeah. Yeah. The sweater, yeah, is just a name. It's the fabrics, it's the threads that have been weaved in a certain way. That's really, so the beautiful thing is letting go of these old ideas. Yeah, because therefore there won't be a letting go of the sweater, because the sweater is just a representation of these fabric weaves. Yeah. It's like an emblem on a car. You don't get rid of the car by taking the emblem off. Yeah. Yeah. So this is beautiful. And I think step 6 and 7 is how we are suggested to deal with it, because we're going to now see old ideas we used to look from. We're going to see them. And that offers you a new possibility concerning them. Yeah. Which is, hey, I'm entirely ready to have them removed or reconfigured. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Paul. Chris has his hand up. Chris, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hey, hey, Paul.
Hey.
Am I allowed a question?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just directed at Walter or somebody.
Okay. So, Walter, what do you recommend for a good burger in Philadelphia? I don't know.
In Amsterdam, but whatever.
Oh, I just took a guess. Yeah, your experience of last night, that was a really great story. It's really familiar to me. I really like how you were saying these are old ideas, not my old ideas. And so I get stuck on step 6 and 7 because I, okay, I am 100% convinced the old ideas are old ideas that don't work. And I know the difference between, well, I'm going to try and fix this again. I know, and I know that won't work because I'll try and fix it using old ideas. But I don't, yeah. So throw out the trash, like you said. But I don't know what trust in the infinite means outside of a religious context.
What it means is you put the garbage out. That's all.
And then whatever's left is the thing that you're trusting in.
You put the garbage out. That was the act of trusting something other than your head. Yeah.
I see.
The head just goes through the garbage over and over and over again. You put it out. You've disowned it. That's the meat of the demonstration.
What
Meaning
if it grows
MEA.
legs and walks back into the garage?
But see, you don't have to demonstrate. That's the demonstration. Trusting the process is the demonstration of trusting the infinite. Or actually, it's a demonstration of not trusting the finite, really.
I can do that.
Well, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't trust because I don't trust it. It's so many. It's like Charlie Brown with the football. You remember that old thing?
You don't have to worry about it. Just you don't. I don't walk out with the garbage thinking I don't trust or I do trust the garbage man. I just want to get rid of the garbage. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's beside the point. Do I trust the garbage man or not? I'll know it by its fruits. If the garbage is gone, yeah, I trust them on that level. This idea of a higher power doesn't necessarily mean it's a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an aspect of us, right? An unsuspected aspect of us.
Right.
Yeah. So life usually is given over to the head for it to sort of make it what it seems to be. And this is life going to another data point that will collate it differently. Let's call it spirit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very
We
helpful.
can't get that groove going, so we practice this program, and then that groove that would go to the head now gets redirected, and it goes somewhere else. And I'm pretty sure you'll be pleased with the results.
Okay. Thank you.
You'll be traveling lighter. Yes.
I feel a lot lighter already.
There you go. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for always taking the time to answer my questions.
No problem, bro. Yeah. There'll be a day that I won't, but it's not today.
Oh, okay. Will that be
Yeah.
a good day or a bad day for me?
I would say it'd be a very good day because you won't.
Okay.
Yeah. It will be a disservice to you to keep answering your questions.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Does anyone else have any other questions? If you'd like to raise your hand and come in or make a comment as to what Paul was talking about, or Paul, if you want to continue on. I don't see any hands right now.
I feel like we it's pretty clear. Yeah. Yeah. So you have to, it's just another way of looking at it, but it works with me to look at the idea of Paul as an old idea. Yeah. Obviously, it's different than the other old ideas because it implies it's having the other ideas. A lot of ideas don't imply that they're the idea that's having the other ideas, but the idea of self has that quality. It's a thought, but it has a sense that it's the thinker of all thoughts. So you can go one way or the other. You can start at the oldest idea, or you can see what holds up the oldest idea is the old ideas. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you start, they end up at the same place. Yes.
Hey, Kurt, did you want to riff on that? Kurt raised his hand. Come on in.
No, hey, Kurt, alcoholic.
Sure.
I tried to figure this thing out for so long, but what I wanted you to expand on was, because I think this is really beneficial to what you were just saying. Why is that such a disservice? See?
Oh, with Chris.
Yes. Yes.
Well, because Chris may be in a condition that doesn't that condition is more the answer of the question that there wants to be a question about. Yeah. So I feel as recovery progresses, you find yourself in different conditions, and those conditions erase the need of questionings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at some point, the old habit of questioning is used by the head to deny a present condition. So you're asking about a condition as if it's not available right now. And to me, that's a disservice for the person.
Thanks.
So when we had a very great example of it here. One of our members from the UK, we were talking about the relief from the bondage of self, and he was in the habit of saying that prayer every day. And then he realized he was saying that prayer as if it was going to be a future condition, and it was a present tense condition. He was in the freedom from the bondage of self. So saying that, please grant me the freedom from the bondage of self, was really reinforcing an idea that wasn't true. He was in the freedom already. So yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times prayer stops as an appropriate response to a progression. So things have progressed and there's a new condition that there's no need to ask for it or pray for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the praying for it is a way of disguising the fact that you're in that condition.
Yeah, and you said this the other day in the other meeting, and it was something I realized or shifted. When you say thy will be done, it almost puts it in a future context.
Yes, yeah.
And you when you say, I always say thy will is being done. It's happening right now. So, but when I saw that, it was the same thing as almost saying, I was asking all the wrong questions anyways, because it was all coming from the head, Yeah.
But even see, the questions are great because wrong or right, they trigger stuff, which is in this platform is necessary.
Right.
So awesome where, because then we can explore and stuff hopefully with new ideas.
Well, that's why I wanted you to expand on it a little bit.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
just
great. That was great.
I feel I've known people that I used to work with in the program, and I had my observation of them, and I was put in that role to have an observation of them. They asked me to be their sponsor, which is different than being a friend. So I was observing that I think their excessive inventorying was reinforcing the obsession with self. It wasn't bringing a relief from it. Yeah, it was just getting microscopic. He was going over every little move as if it was the most important move. Yeah, and the little plans and designs were looked at as very big plans and designs. Yeah, so my advice to him was stop writing and enjoy, recovery. Now, I don't give that. That's not a rote answer I have for every person, but it was appropriate, or at least I felt it was for him in that situation. So this is what happens. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of times the head, when it can't deny what's going on, it just distracts your attention from it. So the worrying that you're not going to be sober distracts your attention from being sober. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's trusting the finite self, obviously, because you are sober, but you're constantly consumed that you're not going to be or whatever. To me, that's faith in the finite self. Yeah. So, yeah, this is just a forum of hopefully new ideas. I mean, if something is sound, which it is, it can be looked at from a lot of angles. Yeah. It doesn't have to be one way. It can appear many, many ways because it's sound. This way of life is sound for the situation it's applied to, which is a mental activity gone wild. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not threatened either.
I don't feel so. No. I mean, to me, I'm not threatened by hearing other points of view from other people.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, just everyone. Yeah. Yeah. So just, again, though, contempt prior to investigation, that Herbert Spencer thing is is a is one of the main shields of the old ideas, really. Yes.
Well, the point you made the other day with that was great. He says it's not something we do; it's where we start from.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we're placed in a position of neutrality. Do you think that's a future day? I feel it's now.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I feel like we're placed in a position of neutrality now. Yeah, I've been placed there. Yeah. And therefore I can see the this or that clearer because I'm not leaning into the this against the that. I just see it. So, I mean, last night was culminations of a lot of hospital moments and a lot of reactions to physical trauma. It was beautiful to see it come up and not get a yay, Yeah, it was yeah, and there was a lot of that juice. A lot of juice got reconfigured, which was nice. Yeah, so. And it also allows you to know the distance that you are from certain stuff that you used to be under. Yeah. That there's been distance given, which is awesome. Neutrality gives you a lot of distance to things, in a sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy I could share it because I had this thing. I haven't shared it in a while, but I had that thing of being incapable of having a viable relationship with another person concerning like love, significance, yeah, that haunted me quite a while. And I had a story that produced a false hope that it was based on the cocaine use and shit. But I wasn't really completely surprised when it showed its head after I got sober. Yeah. And it had a little flavor of what was shown last night, but it was in another, mostly on based on a different topic. Yeah. So I get sober, and of course you run into situations, yeah, like meeting people and stuff like that. And then I would meet some people I would really feel a lot for. And then this shadow would show up, and I'd get extremely paranoid and thinking they were doing something to me, complete projection. And I couldn't seem to go any other way. It just would move me in that direction. And then I would act out. And then I was introduced to something new, which was called an emotional hangover. Because usually I was loaded when these things happened, which made it a little easier. But to do it being sober was fucking heavy, because it was like 2 or 3 days I really felt like shit, really. And I was trying to apply a lot of things through the program and outside even to get some relief for this, because it continued. It had a lot of momentum, I guess. And then one night, and it usually triggered on holidays and shit, easier. I'd fuck up on July 4th or something like that. This was New Year's Eve, which was a big one. And I was at this lady's place who I was seeing, and I felt this thing, and it was time to test her love for me, and she had already failed, It was a done deal, really. So I started to act out, and I huffed and puffed and left, which I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay engaged and fuck up, So I got to the car, and I was fuming in there, and I called her, and I spiraled up there again, and I was feeling like, here we go again, and another ruined situation, and something just came over me just when I was really, really placing the foot in the mouth, really, and diverted it. The hurricane dropped from a category 5 to a 1 to a tropical storm, and then the weather front passed over. I couldn't fucking believe it. It was the first time I saw it demonstrated that something could do for me in this situation that I could not do for myself. Yet I'd done it in a lot of situations, but this one was a deep mental groove, emotional, and man, it was unbelievable. It really was. And I felt like telling this lady, you don't know how lucky you are. What's just happened to me. But I was afraid to even touch it. I'm just gonna, and just had the night, and nothing happened. And then it would come up again, but without the volume, and I had the ability, a newfound one, not to act out on it. And then it sort of really just got reconfigured, really. And this is where I see 6 and 7. I wasn't at that point when it was occurring. I wasn't clear about the 6 and 7. Yeah, it would have been necessary. That came usually after the storm. I wasn't there to see it before the storm yet. Yes, but that has grown, and that was a large amount of energy that's been reconfigured in this life. And now I can have a viable relationship with people. Yeah, that was a big one. So it took longer than I would hope for, but it did get changed. Yeah. And I would think what would speed all that stuff up would have been step 6 and 7, but I didn't have a clarity because not many people speak about 6 or 7 that much. Yeah. And so here we are speaking about it because I found a great value in it by being under its effects for years about a lot of things. Yeah. And about a lot of things I notice in other people, because I don't think alcoholism is a singular event. Yes. So when I see it in someone else, I can apply it here and I can bring it to 6 and 7. Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe after a while, you don't have to because you've been now established in a new condition. But I find it, I mean, what's going to turn the lead into gold? Not you, but the alchemy of the higher power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel. And so, yeah, let's play up 6 and 7 today. Yeah. So, yeah, that was sort of big demonstrations in this life, because that thing I had really almost given up hope on. That was about 10 years or 11 years into sobriety. And I had been I couldn't practice the principles in all my affairs. So I was limiting my affairs. But of course, life keeps on knocking on the door because it wants to extract that love that's being held back, I guess. Yeah. So I kept meeting people and until it happens, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks for your time, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. And it's interesting you also use the word love, Paul. You rarely do. In that last description.
Yeah.
Walt does have his hand up. Do you have a question, Walter? Do you have time, Paul?
Today I have a lot of time.
Today I have a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this step 6 and 7 from, I don't know, but to me, the situations with people from, to me, it's more and more from, hey, I didn't say this. People are reacting on things I even don't think. A lot of situations I can solve it. I don't do nothing else as giving it over from, I don't know. You know, I stay out of drama. I stay out of mess. I clean my dishes, and I just don't know what's going on with around me. Well, I did my step 5 as far as, well, I don't have any secrets for nobody, you know. I did my step 4 as far as possible, and I see from, I mean, I'm listening to all these old discourses, and actually a friend of me who made me aware of you. And then I wondered from, why could I not listen this before? Why could I not understand this 10 years before? It is so clearly spelled out. The same things you are saying, you know, it's unbelievable. And everything what I tried to do to change myself well, basically it's about trying to change myself. It was a disaster. Yeah, well, step 6 and 7. And I also confronted with a lot of pain in my body. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, well, with me, it brings up fear. Yeah. And then what? Are we going to end up in a wheelchair? Am I going to get paralyzed? No, I don't want to go that way. But I can do nothing about it. So when it comes to the whole life is nothing else than step 6 and 7. And in the meantime, you try to enjoy the game of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm just shocked more and more about the craziness from people, you know. Am I going crazy now that I start becoming more and more aware that people are so damned crazy? Or I don't know.
I would say probably.
Probably. Okay. Well, this is more sharing as a question. It's just a question, you know, to deal with pain, I find difficult. And you've got the same. Also with concerning the fear, you know, around it.
Yeah, but again, I think I'm echoing there, eh?
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. Now it must be gone.
You don't want to have that all day.
No, the echoing.
It's still there, so.
Yeah, Walter, if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute.
I think it's good, yeah.
All will echo.
I think now it's okay. It must be okay now.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hear you very softly now.
I feel, again, 6 and 7 doesn't turn into a job. Yeah, it's just, you know what they do, like in martial arts, yes? Tai Chi. They believe it's mind, big M mind runs the energy. Yeah. But how you get to that is putting the body into a form, yeah, through movement. So you do the movements for years, yes, and it triggers the mind to release the chi or to allow the chi to move. But after a while, doing the form becomes less and less important, and a lot of the great masters just end up standing for a long time. They don't move at all, and they just, the mind moves the energy and everything like that, yes? So in the same way with 6 and 7, the formality of asking it to be removed, it's like you've given a permission, in a sense, for it to be removed. All your job is to see, yes? You know what I mean? You don't have to go into the formality of saying, please remove this and everything. You've done that. The bond is already built, yeah? And now you see something and there it goes, yeah? The ownership of that, the ownership of what you saw is signed over to the higher power, yeah? Already. You don't have to sign it over every moment. It's signed over. It's sort of the idea of surrender and surrendered, yeah? I don't believe surrender is a constant activity. I think there's a state of surrendered where you've surrendered to the two facts that, yeah, you're alcoholic, seemingly, and you're not managerial quality, yeah? You're not arguing with them anymore, so you're surrendered to those facts, yeah? I don't keep surrendering to that. I'm in a state of surrender to it. Yeah, that's the being convinced. Being convinced takes away the act of surrendering and establishes it as surrendered concerning what you're convinced about. Yeah. And I feel, even though we may not know it, I feel we can be convinced. And you'll know what it feels like when you're convinced of something. You will, because it doesn't change as the days go or as the circumstances go. It becomes an overriding fact in your life. Yeah. Yeah. And there's no argument with it, which allows a lot of engagement with other things. Yeah. When I argue with it, I get engaged with certain things I don't want to be engaged with. Yes. So, yeah, that stuff has been clear. So surrendered, or the idea of the higher power. It's sort of like the higher power isn't like Dracula. It doesn't have to be asked in. You just show a little bit of willingness and it comes to, yeah. Don't you say it's described in the book? We do but a little, then it's like matched by a whole lot, yes? Isn't that your experience with AA? You did a little and then you got a whole lot of return. Yeah. Yeah. So over here because a lot of my feeling with 6 and 7 in some communities, it's underused. Yeah. It's just not emphasized. It's like, oh, I did it. I did 6 and 7 right after I did the 5th step. But the thing that you did 6 and 7 about is still active. you have to keep seeing it and bringing it over. Yeah, until you get a feeling. I'm not looking like a sentinel all day, but last night was pretty damn obvious that an old idea, an old idea clustered with emotion, and shit arose in the field. And it was like, oh, I've seen this before.
After all these years of sobriety, this still happens to you.
What? Yes, of course. Because it doesn't happen to me. It's just alcoholism arising. It's not, I'm not alcoholic. Yeah, I'm not the thing. Yeah. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. The good thing is I don't have to go to every Himalayan mountain. I see the Himalayas in one mountain. Yeah. It's quicker.
At the spot, instant.
No, it was see, sometimes when you're not physically moving much, you can see the movement of the head quite a lot. Yes. And being familiar with not moving much over in time, I've been bedridden in my life lots of times, from getting run over and shit. It was nice to have this old bubble come up and get to see it again. Yeah. And have it pop by something else. Yeah. Yeah. There's energy being claimed in our lives. We are the recycling plant. we're the facility. Yeah. Yeah. And what's stuff going to do? It's going to make you of maximum use to others. Yeah. So there's a deep empathy in people who suffer. I have that allegiance to people because I've seen it. I remember one thing that had a profound event in this life of an action figure. I had been in a hospital for quite a while, and I told my oldest sister, who was my advocate, that I'm not going to get well here. Yeah, I got to get out of this hospital. And it was difficult because I had to be in a bed, a hospital bed that moves and shit. So the hospital agreed, but she had to get these things done. I had to have a hospital bed. I had to be in my own room, yes, and I'd have to be driven to the hospital a lot, yeah. And if you agree to this, Mrs. Dunlap, Paul can leave the hospital. So she did all that, yeah. She owned the house that I grew up in, so she used the room that we used to have as a TV room. Was like a enclosed porch. She put me in there, yeah, hospital bed. So the day I was leaving the hospital, I went down into the lobby. They wheelchaired me out, and the lobby was incredibly busy and hectic. Yes, and I looked, and so as I was going out the door, I saw this older guy, probably my age now, this older guy on a gurney, like one of those horizontal stretchers. And his head was lolling over the side. And I looked at him and I just felt like a huge sense of sadness in him. Yeah, just huge. My head would never let that wave arrive at the shore before, but I was in a fragile condition. So I looked at this guy, and in his eyes, I just saw unbelievable stuff. And I just kept looking at him as they ducked my head in the car. I got in the car. And then I drove away, just staring at that guy. He was staring back at me. It just blew my mind. Yeah, I had so much of life in such a small bit of time. Yeah, and yeah, it brought a lot of sense of a lot. And I feel like in my case as an action figure, my emotions was frozen when I was young. Yeah, emotions seemed very dangerous because people I loved died. My grandmother and my father, young. And so basically the head took over the managing of Paul's life and did not want a lot of emotional waves to enter or have any effect, which may be in one view a security package, but you suffer on the other side of it. Yes, I mean, you completely suffer. You can't reach out, you can't touch anything in a way. So these things, life took the measures it had to take probably to bring me to some kind of level of living. So I have great gratitude in a lot of ways for what I've been able to live through, because there was a lot of changes that were necessary. Yeah, yeah. What are most alcoholics and addicts engaged with? A disassociation completely. Yeah, they're trying to disassociate a lot. They can't bear it. Yeah, and so AA is such a beautiful way to slowly come around and enter the fray, so to speak, of yes, feeling stuff without going on a murderous rampage or something. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah,
It's just
I know what you mean.
yeah. So there's value in everything. Yeah. I don't believe deeply the mental state can recognize it, but I do believe the higher power does. That there's
Yeah.
value in everything. I do. I do not believe the mental state has the ability to see that. Yeah. I don't. It
Mhm.
can't do it. It sees a comparison of this or that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it can't see this and that are both equally valuable. It just doesn't see it. So, and I don't think you can blame it or anything. It's just a failed system in a way, or it's actually a defined system. That's not up to the engagement of what life is. It's just not up to it. It just can't. It can't roll with it. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel recovery, man, it's just amazing. Yeah. It's just amazing how something that had caved in on itself, yes, and can re-blossom. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yes. So there you have it for today.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Paul. Thanks, Walter. Thanks, Bill, Chris, for your questions, and Kurt. Do you want to say your goodbyes, Paul?
I do. I do want to say goodbyes. I want to just, there's a great strength in numbers, yes? Remember, this is a we program. It's a nice thing. Yeah. All right, Kerry, nice to see you there. Bill Churchman, thank you for that. Yes. It ain't the sweater. Walter, as always, yes. Samuel, nice to see you, Samuel. Kristen, yes, in the Philadelphia area. We got Kurt down in Redondo Beach. Chris T, nice to see you, bro. Haley S, yeah. Kaiser, I think he's in Minnesota now. Yes. Chris, nice to see you, bro. Mickey, the matriarch of Madeira, always a pleasure. Roman, our friend from Germany. We've got Bryant, nice to see you, Bryant. Yeah, yes. Nina, fantastic. Stefan on having never left, as always. Joseph C, pleasure, my friend. Gail, resident of the Pink Cloud, there she is.
The only place I can find it is right here. That's an okay state to be in.
Yes. Oh, most definitely.
to pull me,
Most definitely.
just want to pull me off of it, but it's working and I'm loving every minute of it.
There you go. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Yep. Anew, as always. Budding anew. Yeah.
Well, I hope you feel
Definitely.
better soon. Well,
Yeah, I think it's getting better now. I don't know. I'll have to try it today. I'm sitting
yeah.
up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it
Listen
was
to
whatever, you know. Just
listen to Amelia.
I'm listening to Amelia. Yes. Yeah. Well,
Good.
she's not here now, so that's good. No. Yeah, I'm listening to Amelia.
Awesome. Take care, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a believer in rest, to tell you the truth. I think if I don't do something, something gets done. I do. I have great faith in that. Yeah, I just it's probably the best posture I've learned in recovery is just don't know. Yeah, just don't know, but with a great assurance that it's okay. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so we got Rob S. Oh, we got Deborah. She's gone horizontal. That's good. We got Rob S. We got Kelly. Beautiful dog. Let's see who else is here. I don't know much. I got Kaiser and everybody. Oh, I think I got everybody. Hey, thanks everyone. It's a nice pleasure to spend time with y'all, and yeah, let's not take ourselves too seriously today.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Paul.
Rule 62. See you
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Hey, if you're planning on coming Saturday, I think we're going to have the talk at home Saturday, the live talk in Marin City. I know most of you aren't around here, so I better to start telling the people. I think we're going to have it at the meeting, but we'll have the Zoom. Yeah, here. All right, thanks.